Registration in this case led to confiscation. They confiscated my firearm. No, they didn't break down the door in the middle of the night and come and get my gun. But what they told me is if you don't turn in the gun, we are going to break down the door and come and get you.
Bill Doss, retired Air Force officer and airline pilot, followed the law, but was still declared an instant criminal.
It was always my hope, my intention, to retire in Oregon.
Roy Denny spent his life savings fighting to prove his innocence because a gun he bought 30 years ago suddenly became illegal.
I'm facing a crime now. You've got to be kidding me. I go out there and I uphold the law. I arrest people who are law offenders. By me possessing a weapon, I'm a danger to society.
And police officer Steve O'Connor, now on the wrong side of the law and at risk of losing his job. All three law-abiding citizens now victims of California's semi-automatic gun ban that has been redefined 3 times. Overnight accidental felons in jeopardy of losing their careers, their savings, and their peace of mind because California's gun ban amounts to a blank check for gun owner prosecution and firearm confiscation.
Immediately you're a criminal for owning, by definition, an assault weapon, which, I mean, it's really a sporting rifle.
Looking through these records, Bill Doss still can't believe it. When he and his wife decided to move to California, he checked with the authorities to make sure his gun, an SKS Sporter semi-automatic rifle, was still legal. First, he called ATF in Washington.
The agent I talked to was very informative and said, no, it was not listed. And I said, well, can you send me any information? He said, sure. He says, I'll send you pages out of my ATF manual.
This was the document ATF sent to Bill, a page and picture from its official manual verifying that the SKS Sporter was legal. But just to be safe, Bill Doss decided to contact the California Attorney General's office in Sacramento. He sent along his correspondence from ATF, and within 10 days, Bill got a letter back.
This is the letter from the Attorney General to me saying that the SKS Sporter with attachable magazine are not an assault weapon in California. So with the cover letter and the drawing annotated okay, I had every reason to believe that bringing the SKS Sporter into California was a perfectly legal action on my part.
Perfectly legal, that is, until the rules changed because the Attorney General changed his mind and changed the definition of an assault weapon. Suddenly, Bill got this letter, warning him that his SKS Sporter was now illegal to own.
Total confusion. Is like, this is not really addressed to me. It's really not the gun we're talking about. It must be a mistake.
But it was no mistake. In the end, Bill did what any honest, law-abiding American would do. And these photos are a reminder of a day he'll never forget, the day he turned in his SKS Sporter to the police.
I think mine is a classic case. They had my name as an owner of a SKS Sporter. When it came time for them to redefine the SKS Sporter, they knew where to find me. That's registration.
There is no, okay.
Roy Denny, another victim, because even to this day, California authorities can't agree on what guns are banned and what guns are legal.
I had bought that rifle I was charged with in 1971. In 1989, when the law was first passed, that rifle was not even on the list because of the nomenclature that they used. Later, a few months later, they corrected the nomenclature for my gun, and it was on the list, but I never checked.
Roy paid a harrowing price for not knowing. He saw his finances drained, along with his emotions. But as Roy's attorney points out, the vagueness and uncertainty that underscores this gun ban may have been put there for a purpose.
This case was not about public safety or keeping bad people from having guns. It was purely politically motivated to try and harass law-abiding gun owners.
Roy Denny made into an example, a stern warning to other gun owners that their freedoms are unwelcome in the state of California, and putting them on notice that Senate Bill 23 could add hundreds of rifles, shotguns, and handguns to the list of banned firearms.
The criminal justice system has treated me like I was guilty from the get-go, and I feel very much like a victim. This is a bad law. And SB 23 that was recently passed here in California is going to make more people like me criminals, knowingly or unknowingly.
SB 23 can be applied to almost any firearm that's semi-automatic in the state of California. So it will be enforced. It's going to be enforced wrong, it's going to be enforced incorrectly, and innocent people are going to fall into that pit.
Innocent people who are also police officers, caught in the contradictions of the law. Officer Steve O'Connor knows that firsthand.
I purchased it before the law was in effect, but the law goes back. It goes back, whereas they can take people who lawfully purchased a firearm and prosecute them for a crime that was not a crime when they purchased it.
And that's exactly what happened to Officer O'Connor. This is a letter he got from the State Attorney General's office approving the sale and registration of his firearm under the 1989 gun law. But believe it or not, Officer O'Connor is now being accused by his own police department because it claims Officer O'Connor's gun is an illegal assault weapon under that same law. Once again, proving the absurdity of it all. Not even the chief law enforcement officer in California can agree with local police departments about what is or is not illegal.
This is something that potentially could end my career.
I mean, I don't know how much more convoluted and screwed up things can get. The bottom line, I mean, that's the right word. These people are getting screwed.
Law-abiding citizens becoming instant felons, and politicians working overtime, enacting gun laws no one can understand, and drafting definitions no one can define.
Conspicuously protruding pistol grip. They're on 3 revisions, and they still don't have it clear enough to where the average person can understand what a conspicuously protruding pistol grip is. It's pretty ridiculous.
Ridiculous? Maybe. But a recent ruling by the California Supreme Court requires every law-abiding citizen to know every nuance of every law. If they don't, they can be prosecuted, sent to prison. No excuses.
I'm incredibly angry about it. As an officer, I don't want to go out and arrest good citizens for, quote, illegal possession of a firearm. I don't agree with it. If you're a good citizen, I don't care what firearm you have. You should be able to own it.
The vicious cycle of gun control, California style. Politicians and judges who refuse to recognize your individual rights. In fact, California Supreme Court Justice Janice Rogers Brown blatantly admits in a recent opinion that, quote, no mention is made in the state constitution of a right to bear arms.
Our government just doesn't care anymore about the Second Amendment. I mean, they could care less. That there's people out there trying to change our Constitution. They could care less what our forefathers did to get us where we are now.
And I don't mean to get over philosophical here, but so many people died for our freedoms. Why is it that so many people are so quick to give them away? I don't understand that. I really don't.
Law-abiding citizens, victims of registration schemes and gun bans that erode a basic freedom, while at the same time their state attorney general relishes the right to add to his list of banned firearms virtually whenever he decides. From those who have already felt the long arm of the law, this disparity should serve as a wake-up call.
Open your eyes, wake up. It's happening. It's happening whether you want to believe it or not. And I'm here to tell you that registration leads to confiscation, and I am living proof.
And we don't take a stand now, we may not have the opportunity when they come knocking on our doors and taking them.
If it's happening to me, then it can happen to you. That's the very point. If it's going to happen to anybody in society, and you're worried about just Joe Citizen saying it can't happen to him, well, I hate to say it, if it's happening to a police officer, then you're fair game.